I'm Garrett, and this is C4 Scope. Lately I've been thinking, wouldn't it be fun to kick off a show about analyzing rappers and their songs with a rapper who's still kicking off his career? Today I'm talking about Ugly God. Who is this sexy beast, you might ask? Well, for those of you unfamiliar with the God of Ugly, I'll take a minute or two to explain. Ugly God is a Houston rapper that started gaining popularity around early 2016 with his first few singles, Water and Beat My Meat, the former being his highest grossing song, granting him a fan base that's still growing. He would eventually go on tour, have interviews with the likes of Sway, have fan meetings, and most notably acquire a position on this year's XXL freshman class. That's a pretty good stream of success, and it's mainly attributed to Ugly God's unique rapping style. Ugly God does something referred to as meme rapping, essentially just saying really off-putting things that are beyond weird or goofy. Most people do it just to go viral and be stupid for the sake of being stupid, but Ugly God I find uses this style as a means to poke fun at the stereotypes commonly associated with the rap community by accentuating them in his songs or defying the typical expectations. Now, I know a good population of people see this as really corny or just plain dumb, and for the most part they're right, but personally I think it's funny. Ugly God raps with energy unique to his own, and I feel he genuinely loves what he does, so much so to the point that I can't help but enjoy it with him. Plus, it's not only funny to hear some of the weird shit he says, but it's very refreshing. In a medium where just about everyone takes what they say way too serious and way too often, it becomes a godsend, no pun intended, that someone like Ugly God exists. He says things you'd laugh at just because they're so ridiculous, and no other rapper would ever say that. Beat My Meat is a perfect example, being a song about jerking off. And I'm just gonna say it, I think he's a cool dude. You put aside all the weird shit and overtly sexual content from his songs, and you still walk away with a guy who has a fun personality and a surprisingly down-to-earth perspective. In fact, I'd go so far as to say his personality is what wins over fans more so than his music. And that's great, I'm glad he's got so many fans. Hell, I'm even one of them. But we aren't reviewing the man, we're looking at the music. So finally, let's talk about his first project, The Booty Tape. I'm sorry, what? Did you say the first project? Hold on a second. So, this mixtape came out in August of this year. You mean to tell me that this guy has been going on tour, selling t-shirts and shit, and even got a spot on Double XL, one of the most coveted positions any new coming rapper could possibly hold, and he is just now coming out with a mixtape? Alright, I get making your fans wait to build up anticipation, but you've been gaining massive popularity since March of 2016, and you wait until August of 2017 to drop it? Furthermore, from what I understand, it was actually delayed because it was supposed to come out in June. What's even crazier is that in an interview he told someone he had actually been working on the project for 8 years. 8 years! And in that same interview he went on to say that it could be another 8 years before it was even released. Jesus, so I guess we're lucky that we got the tape at all. But in his defense, it was probably the massive swollen fame that delayed the project for so long. With the promise of tours and autograph signings, and of course Double XL taking up a huge chunk of his time, I guess it should come as no surprise the Booty Tape came out when it did. Too bad I forgot it came out at all, and that's why I'm making a video almost 2 months after its release. Too long of a wait can kill a hype, people. Alright, but enough of the backstory. Let's finally take a look at the Booty Tape. And from all the excitement built around this thing for almost a year, and the fact that it's reported that Ugly God spent all his free time on this, I can't wait to see the final project. What the hell? Only 10 songs? 2 of which were singles that came out so long ago that I personally feel it was a cop-out to put these two, or at least one more than the other, on this mixtape. So much so that I think some more original content would have been, for lack of a better term, required. So, taking those 2 out of the equation, you leave us with basically 8 new songs. And, okay, it's a mixtape. I got that. I don't really expect much from mixtapes unless you're Chance the Rapper, because they're mixtapes. They're just supposed to be a sampling of who the artist is and what their flow is about without really having high production songs or even that many of them, because you save that effort for the album that inevitably follows and then turn a profit based on that. The same thing is being done here. A few songs to get you familiar with the guy, but I guess my issues are: number one, it was built up to be like his magnum opus. Like the Booty Tape is going to fucking rock you, mama, and there are only 8 fucking original songs produced for this shit? That's fine, and it wouldn't bother me so much if it wasn't $10 goddamn dollars. I may be wrong, but to me selling your mixtape for album prices kinda defeats the purpose of making it a mixtape. If you're going to make me pay for it, then it's an album. And if it's an album, then it sucks because it's made like a mixtape. So not only do I feel like I'm not getting my money's worth, I also feel cheated because this isn't even the main event. He has an album that will be coming out soon. Of course, they already talked about that after this was released. So it feels like buying tickets to go watching wrestling. You go in, you sit down, you watch the preliminary fights, and you just do all that to get the night started. It's not a big deal, it just gets you in the mood of watching wrestling. But right before the main event starts, you have to pay again, this time even more than you did originally. That seems so off-putting even for someone of Ugly God's caliber. Ugh. Alright, I've ranted. I've said what I've needed to say, so let's finally listen to the music. Here we go. Welcome to the Booty Tape is one of those tracks that literally only exists to give you some context behind how we got to the point we're at now, what led up to this point, and, the tracks that follow. I don't really have issues with these types of songs because as long as the job is done and the intro is delivered, I could care less. But here I find this whole first track just goes off the rails. First, Ugly God uses a reaction from some YouTuber and his mom trashing his music and saying he won't make it anywhere, obviously meant to contrast the fact that he is now releasing his first project, which is symbolic of his continuing success. That's all fine and good, but did that audio really have to take up half the song? I swear he doesn't start rapping until after the minute mark in a 2.5-minute song. Was it so hard to just summarize by saying, "This guy sucks," and then move into your retort? I feel he drew too much attention to it, and it's not even that funny. That in and of itself, though, can be excused. But my main issue is that once he starts his verse, it doesn't sound like an Ugly God verse. There's no jokes, there's no prodding of rap culture. I swear it sounds like any other bragging song. I know it's customary for rappers to brag about their success, especially after playing audio from someone who didn't think he could make it, but I would have at least expected him to do it in his style. But he doesn't, and it sounds like generic bragging. And for someone like Ugly God, who hinges his entire appeal on the wacky shit he says, that really bothers me. This is the first verse on this long-awaited album, and he made the mistake of not giving an unknowing patron listening to his music for the first time a better idea of who he is and what his style is like. Moving on to the next track, Stop Smoking Black and Milds is a diss track towards anyone that purchases and smokes Black and Mild cigars. What the hell am I doing? Is this actually a thing? Am I reviewing this? An entire song dedicated to hating on people that smoke Black and Milds. Alright. I get it's a joke song, like now this is supposed to be typical Ugly God making a funny, stupid song, and yeah, it is kinda humorous here and there, but for the most part, I just can't really get into the song because I don't care about people that smoke Black and Mild cigars. For me, that equates to making a song about how I hate it when I tip my Hardee's cup over and a little bit of soda spills. It's annoying, but I'll fucking live. Not so much hating on this song as I am just not being able to connect. If people can get with this song and like it, then great, that's good. I unfortunately cannot. Next is actually, I'd say, my favorite song on this album. And yes, I am going to start calling it an album because that is what it should have been. It's called I'm a Nasty Hoe. This song had me crying. I thought it was so funny the first time I heard it. What this song is what I expected from Ugly God all through this album. It's a perverted, goofy sounding song, but its beat is amazing, and Ugly God does a great job defying our natural expectations. You see, there's this thing in rap I'm sure everyone is aware of, where rappers often say in quote unquote love songs that they love their girl, want to have sex with her, and instead of sounding romantic, it either comes off as a not so subtle way of saying I just want to bone you, or just a blatantly cheap attempt to connect to a female audience. On this track, however, Ugly God goes to the extreme and makes a beat that honestly sounds beautifully crafted, and his voice dons a seductive tone. But instead of trying to hide his true intentions under a false promise of love or a false promise of affection, instead gets straight to the point and comes right out to this chick and says, I want to bone you, and I want to do it in the nastiest way possible. Lines like, take advantage of me, bitch, I want to be yo slut, and sit upon my face, baby, I ain't ate vagina in months, are perfect examples. I get that the joke probably won't resonate with everyone, same as how the Black and Mild song doesn't resonate with me. So if you don't like this because of how perverted and forward it is, that's fine. I totally get it. I totally understand. You are aces. But also try to keep in mind, the song is called I'm a Nasty Hoe, so what really else was there to expect? The very next song that comes up is essentially the same song, but less funny, at least in my opinion. Ugly God basically skipped the horse shit that every rapper dishes out in a romantic song that actually turns out to not be romantic because the rapper's not so subtly saying they just want to have sex. I hate when rappers do that. I hate when rappers try to appeal to a feminine fan base just by throwing around words like love and implementing dumb cliches that just dumb down the song. And for me, in the long run, don't connect. They don't make that connection. They just say, hey, we recognize that you're female and you like this shit, but we still gotta prove that we're gangsters and say a bunch of dumb shit and fuck you in the end, and it's all just stupid. But here, Ugly God doesn't do that, and is totally forward with what he really wants. This is an okay song for him, but it just comes off as a less, dare I say, blissful way he tells a girl he wants to have nasty sex with her than the previous track. I'm a Nasty Hoe was almost the same concept, but it disguised itself as something better in tune and tone. Like it might be a sexy song only to reveal it's really not, defying what you might have expected and causing you to laugh, maybe. I'm Trying to Fuck has a harsher tone and a harsher beat, and just harsher and more blunt all around. Maybe if it wasn't placed directly behind the only other song centered entirely around sex, I might be easier on it. But even then, the harsher and more forward mood I think still really hurts it. There's no real cleverness here, just flat out, I'm trying to bone, doesn't really make for an entertaining song. When this song first came out as the most recent single before this album dropped, I thought to myself, that seems like a song Ugly God would make. Because, think about it. Since he first appeared, he's been receiving massive amounts of hate as well as praise. But the controversy surrounding him has always been a non-stopping presence. No matter how far he went or what he did when he got there, it stuck around. And it probably will always stick around. But with a rapper who flips the normal tradition of what everyone else does, it's no surprise he would eventually choose to make a song actually giving in to the negativity, and making a diss song about himself. Whereas most rappers would deny any haters and try to defend themselves as the best, Ugly God I find is more humble, choosing to talk about how he really isn't all that great, and confirming things like, yes, he really doesn't have $1 million, and in reality only makes a fraction of the amount the internet says he does. The track is mainly a personal attack on himself, but I don't know if it's just me, but I don't get some of the insults. Like right here he says, every single day you wear them same pair of jeans. Them same black pants, bitch, you know which ones I mean. 4 years ago, you got jumped on Halloween. What the hell did the first two lines mean? People are making fun of him because he wears a certain pair of pants often? And people are making fun of him because he got jumped? Well, I guess I can get the pants thing, because some people may look at that and call you poor because you wear the same thing all the time. But how many people think it's hysterical that someone got the shit beat out of them on the greatest holiday of the year? I'm guessing these two ideas, along with others, connect to some kind of hate he must have gotten in the past, but unless you knew what it was or what he was referencing, you can't relate to what's being said, and therefore you can't think it's funny. I mean, like, at least I think that way. I mean, if we did know what he was talking about, we could at the very least see why it was important to put here. You know what? That's a good idea. Let's do some research real quick and let's see what it was he was referencing. Oh, God. According to this, the repeated wearing of the black pants is actually in reference to how Ugly God claims to wear the same outfit every day because he's a character, and characters wear the same thing every day. Okay. And the Halloween thing is apparently in reference to an incident where on one Halloween he got the shit beat out of him by 15 kids and was so badly beaten he went unconscious. Oh my God, Jesus, guy! Neither, I want to repeat, neither of these two things are things people have made fun of Ugly God for. In both instances, he was the one that brought it up. I swear. Go look at some interviews. Go look at fucking Twitter feed. The evidence is there. It's not like anyone else pointed out he constantly wears black pants, and I certainly don't think anyone was pointing and laughing when you got completely ganged up on when you were in high school and were beaten unconscious. I really don't think people are that dark-hearted. I mean, who knows? Maybe this is trying to further implement the idea that the things he gets shit for are really not things to give him grief about, but the way he keeps switching from actual controversial issues people have with him to stuff nobody seemed to mind really fucks up the focus of the song and makes a mess out of something so simple. Gosh, I mean, it's an alright song, I guess, but nothing super spectacular.